Hi, Mrs. Monson. For my physics extra credit project, I've decided to research Rosalind Franklin, starting with her early life. Born in 1920 in London, England, Rosalind Franklin was an incredibly successful physicist. Franklin grew up in a prominent family that valued education. Prior to World War I, her father was studying to become a scientist. However, due to the war, he became a college instructor instead. Rosalind would later follow in the footsteps of her father. It is recorded that around the age of 15 or 16, she already had aspirations to become a scientist. Moving on to Rosalind's education and work experience. Rosalind was fortunate enough to receive a high-quality education while growing up. She attended St. Paul's Girls' School where she learned physics and chemistry. This was unusual for the time period as science was generally not available to women. Even her father had advised her not to enter into the science field as he argued that it was not the place for women. Rosalind disregarded all of these opinions and studied chemistry at Cambridge University in 1938. Post-university, Rosalind was granted a research scholarship from the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, also at Cambridge University. In 1941, she earned her bachelor's degree, which allowed her to accept a position with the British Coal Utilization Research Association. Her position primarily consisted of understanding the characteristics of carbons in coals. Additionally, in 1945, she earned her PhD in physical chemistry from Cambridge University. And down below, I've included a picture of her studying at the lab. Moving on to Rosalind's success. So, her success can be attributed to the fact that she always stood up for herself, even in spite of the sexist attitudes of the time. An example of her strong-heartedness occurred during her research scholarship. She uncovered a mistake in a project assigned by her supervising instructor, R.G.W. Norrish. Instead of keeping this to herself, she reported it to her instructor. This caused quite a conflict as she was young and an inexperienced female. But nevertheless, Rosalind was not afraid to stand up for herself. And in this picture, you can see that Rosalind is the only woman, which just helps to emphasize the idea that science was a male-dominated field at the time of Rosalind. Moving on to Rosalind's discoveries. So, Rosalind Franklin's most significant contribution involved the structure of DNA. At the close of World War II, she spent 4 years studying in a Parisian lab known as the Laboratoire Central des Services Chimiques de l'État. This gave her a strong foundation on a technique called crystallography. Crystallography involves an X-ray method of determining the arrangements of atoms in solids. She then moved on to a research fellowship at King's College. At King's College, Rosalind worked with another PhD student, Raymond Gosling, to build a micro camera that was able to capture an accurate crystallography DNA structure. In spring of 1952, Franklin shot an X-ray beam through a DNA fiber, which produced an image on a photographic plate. This is known as Photo 51, which is also Rosalind's most famous work. So down here on the right, I've included an image of Photo 51, and as you can see, it's just an image of a DNA structure. Moving on to Rosalind Franklin's legacy. So Rosalind unexpectedly and unfortunately died from cancer at the young age of 37 in 1958. Her distinguished research is honored in several different laboratories and education institutions around the world, as well as by numerous awards. The Rosalind Franklin Institute in the United Kingdom serves as a medical research center. Additionally, Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science, which is actually in Chicago, also serves to recognize Rosalind's work. Several awards, including decorations from the American National Cancer Institute, the Royal Society, and the European Space Agency, serve as a remembrance of Franklin. And here I just have two images of different awards that are given in memory of Rosalind Franklin's life as well as her discoveries. In addition, in a more personal sense, Rosalind Franklin's legacy was and is extremely influential in the female involvement in science. Rosalind's experience of discrimination in the workplace, and more importantly, her ability to overcome sexism, serves as an inspiration to women today. And lastly, why did I pick to research Rosalind Franklin? So I've chosen to study Rosalind Franklin because I'm inspired by her success despite all of the obstacles that she faced. I love that she serves as an example of feminism by paving the way for women in the field of science. Additionally, I'm interested in pursuing a career in the medical field, so I find her research about DNA very interesting. I've always been intrigued by biology, and DNA is a crucial part of biology. And lastly, I have an image of my APA formatted citations, and thank you for listening to me, Mrs. Monson.